Before we begin, thank you very much to... I had to think of a quick replacement for the French for joining my Patreon campaign. That's at the end of the videos now. It's a shout out from Schedule Conflicts, my weekly YouTube stream. Well, not mine, but the one I play on Thursday nights over at Gobba Goblin's channel. Just funny little out of context things. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoy the line. And thank you to everyone out there. As I record this, I've officially hit the 4-digit mark on Patreon. It happened at work, and I literally got emotional in the shop because more than any of my other numbers, that's the number that tells me how much you guys want to support and how much you guys want me to keep doing this, which means the world to me to have that level of support. So thank you everyone who showed that. To get from here to the point a few years ago where honestly the channel was dying and I really didn't know if I wanted to continue means everything to me. And because of that, it means we're going to be doing Rush review once more, and we'll be doing cartoon reviews again if we get past the first of the month, and we still have the number that high. So if we get to that point, if we get to January and the number is still in 4 digits, I'll tell you then what that means and how it all is going to work. But for now, thank you so much for hitting that mark. Let's see, we got Transmetals to talk about today. So Hasbro has been asked incessantly for Transmetals, and we know that they are aware of the demand because they have admitted that there is demand, but they are never sure about how to do it. The excuse we always have is that we're just not sure how to actually convey the Transmetals. And to be fair, there are a lot of things about them that does make them kind of prohibitive to do in a modern toy line. We're going to look at that, and then we're going to look at what solutions exist, and personally how I would do Transmetals in the modern line. But let's see where we are at the moment, because we know that this year, well, next year, we are getting this gorgeous piece of plastic, a very nice rendition of Silverbolt from Beast Wars. But because of this, it means Beast Wars has only one character left that they haven't done that is not a Transmetal of some type, and that is Quick Strike. They've expressed interest in Quick Strike as a core class figure, which I think is a big mistake, because he's just going to be way too small for the rest of the cast. I wouldn't mind him just being a small-ish deluxe as long as his snake is big enough for me, and don't take that out of context. Point being, they're out of characters to do for Beast Wars, but, you know, obviously Beast Wars has done well enough to do that many figures in Kingdom and into Legacy. So if they want to keep that going, and they want to keep Beast Wars fans buying, the only place they have to go to now is Transmetals. So what have we heard in the past about what they wouldn't do? Well, the number one thing that Hasbro tells us is chrome. Chrome is a lot more expensive than it used to be to put on a toy, and of course, there's a sect of fans who don't want chrome, so how to do that and how to replicate that it makes it more challenging to do. Except they're proving they don't need to. We now have 2 Transmetal 2s with modern toys, Megatron first, and now Tigerhawk just now dropping as of this video. They've proven they're willing to do Transmetals without any chrome and without even metallic paint. It's just the figure itself, alright? Oh, but this is a Transmetal 2, you say. A lot of them had less chrome, you say. So they can get away with it here. It's the real, like, year 1 Transmetal 1s that had a ton of chrome that was really prominent on their designs. That's where they're getting hung up and why they won't do it. Wrong again. We already had this, and this was before Kingdom. Power of the Primes Optimus Primal, which I think is a dumb toy. But you know what? It's a bona fide Transmetal 1 that was not given any kind of chrome whatsoever, no metallic paint even. So where's the excuse now? If they're willing to do that, then why aren't they willing to do Transmetals? I think the chrome is almost an easy scapegoat because it's easy to understand. Chrome's expensive to make, and a lot of collectors don't like it, and the alternatives that make it look shiny are also expensive. We don't know how to approach this. So what is the but we've already seen they're giving a lie to that. So what's the real reason? So if you ask me, by the way I look at it, it's the third mode. Now, I'm showing a picture of Cheetor just to kind of like show extremes to this, because obviously there's a lot of Transmetal vehicle modes that aren't really vehicle modes as much as they are just rearranging wings, or in Cheetor's case, flipping out his side panels to be kind of a jetpack look. This stuff is typical. This stuff is easy to do. So I'm not really worried about this when it comes to being, a modern figure. I'm more worried about the rat traps of the world, the tarantuluses of the world. So you wouldn't think rat trap would be terribly hard to do, but let's keep in mind how Hasbro works their Generations figures these days. Rat trap, in order to actually be scale with everybody else, would have to be a small-ish deluxe, right? On top of that, they would try to increase the show accuracy by having the wheel pack end up behind his shoulders rather than behind his butt. So not only are you talking about trying to make the figure more show accurate in size, but also more show accurate in shape, which means you're already adding complexity to the engineering, and now you have to come up with a wheel system on top of that that folds out from the rat mode. Now you have problems. I honestly feel like if they did a modern rat trap, they'd have to gut the roadster mode in order to make sure the rat functioned and that the rat was show accurate, which is a shame because rat trap, I think second only to Cheetor, is one of the bots that used his vehicle mode the most in the show. His vehicle mode, because his was the closest to being a vehicle mode. So it'd be a shame to actually lose it, right? And then you get to things like this. Even if they put Rampage out as a leader, how absurd would a modern toy have to be to not only be more show accurate, more articulated, but also feature in that ridiculous alt mode? This is where things would get insane, So what do you do? Then that's really just one factor. I think the engineering is just one major factor. Granted, at Voyager and Leader, I don't think it's as big of a deal. Transmetal Megatron is a Voyager. His vehicle mode is 4 fold-out parts, It's not exactly a budget breaker. You could absolutely do it. Primal's alt mode, his vehicle mode, really is just a rearrangement of his lower legs. There's nothing to that, You could absolutely make that happen. Not a problem. It's where you get into the deluxe class size point where things start getting tricky. How do you do Tarantulas' wheel on a modern figure? Because that, even back then, was some complex engineering that might not be affordable to do at today's price points and budget. And then there's another factor to Transmetals that makes them even harder to do, and that is repaint potential. So we got Transmetal 2 Megatron because the fandom knows Cryotech, and Cryotech just looks cool on a toy shelf. So here, we actually have a baked-in repaint that they're absolutely going to do at some point. And I would say the exact same thing of Tigerhawk, because the toy to get in Universe, especially Universe's first year, was that Razor Claw repaint, that black and purple like winged tiger. Super cool looking toy. It was the toy to get out of Universe. So I would anticipate that being the sole reason we managed to get those two. On top of the fact that they don't have third modes they had to worry about. But looking at the rest of the Transmetals, what do you do? Because most of them don't have noteworthy repaints. I mean, what do you do with Cheetor? You have to do Cheetor, but what else are you actually going to do with the poor lad? Do you do the Fox Kids repaint that's on screen? Do you do the Armada repaint that doesn't even look all that good? That's like Generation Selects fodder. That's like Walmart capsule line fodder. You don't do that, like when they're trying to get repaints out of these things, they're looking for at least one other toy they can do at full retail, not, relegated to like Amazon or Big Bad, when it comes to pitching a modern Transformer, it feels like they want to try to get at least 2 or 3 uses out of a mold. If you can pitch a design to Hasbro HQ and you can convince them that it can convincingly be made into 3 different characters, then congratulations. Your design's probably going to get approved because it's the second and third run of a mold where they really make money off of it. You know, the actual tooling and engineering, all of that is baked into the cost of the first run, so it's very, very rare when a figure does not get at least one repaint or retool just because they're trying to recoup costs on it. By the way, shout out to Hasbro photographers who had exactly one idea for how to actually pose this mold. So, what do you do? What do you do when there's a demand for Transmetals? However, you've got to figure out how to work within their limits. Well, for starters, I'd honestly, if I'm going to come up with an idea, let's do the thing everyone likes me doing. Let's actually story tell. What can I actually do with Transmetals that would actually make for something that makes sense in the toy aisle? So for starters, yes, it would suck, but I really do feel like you'd either have to like simplify the third modes with like snap on and snap off parts, or ditch them entirely and just make sure that the robot and the beast modes look really good. That's just a budgetary limitation of modern toys. However, there's also not really enough Transmetals to do an entire toy line, especially when you start having to count leaders and voyagers, etc. So if we're talking about doing Transmetals, and this is how I would do it, I would do Transmetals as an entire line. Like, I would just make that a whole year's worth of toys where the gimmick is robotic beasts. But that gives us avenues to play, you know? For starters, what if we included characters who haven't gotten a toy update yet? You know, even G1 characters, because you know what G1 has? It has robotic animals. So what if Catilla actually got a new toy thanks to a all Transmetal toy line or an all robotic beast toy line? So you get in G1 stuff that those collectors want while you're also catering to the Beast Wars collectors who really wanted those Transmetals. So now you're filling out the line with other characters and other designs that haven't gotten a shake yet, right? So you're tapping multiple markets here. And it doesn't have to be G1. There's plenty of robotic animals across Transformers. What if we go modern? What if Cyberverse had its version of Skybite with a brand new toy? He never really got a great figure when that line was out. So similar to how Windblade just came out, and how I'm sure they'll figure out a few others throughout the universes to do, why not Skybite? Popular character, repainted into Cybershark at some point. Hey, there's your second use. Retool it into Hammerbite. I love Hammerbite, design wise at least. Options, possibilities, right? So that's what we're looking for here. So you could do a whole cast of just robotic beasts. What if you did the Predacons the way you did the Dinobots and core class them into a 6-part combiner? This would be super sick. I would love this. I would think this would be a lot of fun. Just have a tiny little Predaking to go up against your tiny little Volcanicus. Doesn't that make sense? You know, drop them in a few waves of core so you can get them all out within 1 year. Makes sense to me. Oh, and don't go thinking that we're gonna like Menasor these and release them throughout an entire toy line, because you're not going to get a Commander class toy out of Razor Claw, especially because all of them have to be the same size. You're also not going to be able to fill out a Voyager's wave with just Predacons because they're too big, and there's not enough space in Voyagers for all 5, or what would have to end up being 6. Then it's an entire year's worth of Voyagers, and they're nothing but G1 Predacons. That's not going to be good for the toy aisle. No, for that, you go Monstructor. Because it's overdue. They were going to do it out of Abominus and never got around to it. And yeah, there's technically going to be molds for that soon with the retooled Dino Force. But you don't really want to recast dinosaurs into the Monstructor boys. So that might be a project for this toy line. right? So now you get a little bit of monster variety in with your robotic beasts, and it's all still in character, and you're still getting some unsung G1 characters out there. But it's still not quite enough. Like, retailers especially, like, you know why, I've said this before in videos, always bears repeating. Do you know why you have so many Megatrons, Starscreams, Bumblebees, Optimus Primes, even though it feels like redundant? We just got them like 6 months ago. Why are you getting them again? Because it's not you that Hasbro sells to. It is the bean counter, the stock guy at Walmart and Target HQ that just wants to hit the button and that says order on whatever sounds like it's going to sell well. So what they want to see are those marquee names, those big names that always mean this is going to sell. So you have to find a way of working in your big characters no matter what. Now, if we're doing Transmetals, that leaves some very obvious places. You know, I've said for years, like, the biggest missed opportunity in Transmetals was not repainting Waspinator into Starscream. Not only because of the possession episode, but because his vehicle mode is a jet. Would have made perfect sense. So instead, let's take a little bit of inspiration from something they toyed a little bit with over the years, but really never went full into, and something that I love in an unexpected place, and that's third party. What if we got crazy with this? What if we start doing like 2000 style retools, like during like the Unicron trilogy, where we can actually come up with these super cool things, you know, just kind of like reimagining the Transmetal cast or the Beast cast that haven't been done yet. We know a big convoy is likely on the way, Mammoth Prime, whatever they call them in the US, because we've already done Lio Convoy, and we've done, all three, like most of the iterations of Optimus Primal. Eventually they're going to have to do him, especially with Magmatron on the way. You're going to have a Magmatron without a big convoy? How dare you? So this is inevitable. This is going to happen. But what do you do? What do you repaint him into? Ultra Mammoth? Probably not. Again, not well known enough. But what's the one thing people know about Big Convoy? His alt mode is nothing but shell. So you retool that shell, you give him a different head and chest, and all of a sudden you're looking at something that could pass as like a weird version of G1 Optimus Prime in this design aesthetic. So you can sell an Optimus Prime toy in this line to retailers, and it's just a goofy Mammoth Optimus Prime. You do the same thing with... I'm sorry, I thought I flipped a slide in order to get that point across. I'm getting way too into this. So you get my point, though. And then what about Galvatron? We haven't done Galvatron. How about you take the idea I put forth in the Beast Machines redo and actually just redo him into G1 Megatron, where instead of a drill mode, it's a cannon mode, and then you still have the dragon in there to work with all the mechanical beasts. And then, yeah, later on, proper Beast Wars 2 Galvatron that you can drop in the next year's line, and it makes sense. So you get the characters in that way. And meanwhile, we just kind of dance around everybody else in this design pool. Hey, you want to do Transmetal Rhinox? Great. We'll do the Armada one as like Generation Selects. But for retail, we're going to retool him into a goofy kind of like metal iron hide. How about that? Pterosaur? I mean, yeah, Swoop would be obvious, and there's a few repaints that we can do for selects, but for retail, what if we take that weird silhouette of his with the high wings and we do him into like a weird version of Power Glide? Fun. We have fun with this. You got to figure out something to do with Cheetor. What if he's Prowl? Reimagine him as like a Transmetal snow leopard and make it Prowl. Fun things, right? Have a little bit of fun things. And again, we could even use this idea to kind of hit G1 characters that haven't gotten a shake or a go around. If Depth Charge became Submarauder, that would actually make sense in a weird way, wouldn't it? So it's goofy things like that one, keep me up at night, but also that I think would make for a really fun toy line. If you want to do Transmetals, the most sensible thing is to just make Transmetals the line. And you use it to get out some obscure G1s that the G1 collectors will want. You use some goofy ideas to get the major characters in there. But most importantly, you round off the Beast Wars cast and finally settle the demands that Hasbro has been getting for literally decades. So there is your idea. Let me know in the comments below if this is actually going to work for you, if you would actually be down for a Transmetal line that does all this goofy stuff. I think it would be fun, but, you know, that's just me. You know, I want to know what you guys think. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.
We parlay with the captain.
You think a werecroc is going to listen to elvish rules of piracy?
Of course it would be the freaking elves that invented parlay.
I had to think of a quick replacement for the French.